What is up, traders? In this video I'm going to be talking about a trade that I took on US 30 today. It was a really nice trade actually. It had the potential of making you 18.7 R. I got out a little earlier completely. I got out at, let's see, around 14 R. That's a pretty decent trade. My original target was the sell side liquidity, which we just missed, but overall taking partials here would have really filled your pockets. I think this is going to be a really interesting trade to cover. I will also talk about my entire thought process here. I'll do a top-down analysis, how I was looking at the market, and also how I managed this complete trade. And of course, I will also be showing you the proof that I actually entered this trade, because this might look dodgy. I actually got filled here, and I really wrote this trade down quite a bit. This was all shared in my Discord, so if you're up for that, feel free to join the Discord. The link will be in the description. Right, so let's actually get rid of all the drawings that are currently on my screen and go over the entire thought process. So I only trade New York. So let's actually start with rewinding price to 7 AM, and I'll start on the daily chart. So when it comes to the daily chart, what I noticed is that we actually took out the buy side liquidity. Here I noticed we had a fair value gap fill, which is kind of irrelevant for this trade. I also noticed that we had sell side liquidity resting down below, and we had more internal sell side liquidity resting here as well, which I thought was going to be the target. We also had news today, so I was actually trying to benefit from news as well to push us into that direction. And why is this internal sell side liquidity? If we take a closer look, we have these two equal lows right here, which is really an indication that price is likely to be drawn there, because there are a lot of orders resting below this right here. So a lot of liquidity. So that's what I had in mind that price was likely to be heading to, so towards the internal sell side liquidity here. But of course, we would not be focusing on that as a full target. So I jumped down to the 4 hour, and on the 4 hour, I noticed this big spike was the low from Tuesday, the 14th of February, which was also internal sell side liquidity, which I believed we could definitely be targeting. So that was going to be my target for the day. After that, I jumped to the 15 minutes to actually take a look at how price was doing. And I noticed that during London, we actually took a nice move up, and we swept quite a bit of liquidity here as well. What I also kept in mind is that we had some fair value gaps left right here, which price could obviously be rebalancing. Then right here, I noticed that price actually tapped into one of those fair value gaps, and New York just started. So I moved down to the 1 minute chart to see if we could get a decent reaction off of that. Other than tapping into that fair value gap, you notice that we take a bunch of liquidity that we actually built up during London. So what we could expect is that this leg was probably going to be a manipulation leg, and that's where I actually started thinking about taking an entry. So as you can see, we have a small little pullback here. So I was waiting for this market structure to actually fail, to have a market structure shift. Now that happened, I was actually looking at this fair value gap here to take a short from. But we didn't quite get to that and started moving down again. So I actually started looking at the fair value gap that we created right here. And that is the one that I put my limit order on, I'm sorry. And I was planning on covering this high right here, because if price were to actually come back to this fair value gap, which I doubted with the strength that it was starting to move down, then I could simply look for a potential re-entry right here at a better price, instead of risking less and covering this high, which I was not really interested in. So I decided to really just cover this high right here. As for my target, I had a couple of points in mind. So the first point where I would be taking my partials was right here. I was thinking about taking 50% off, and then also look to move my stop. So I would either move my stop to break even or use an order block to actually put my stop behind, which is what it got to. So my 50% target was at 3R, which is decent. So I got 1.5 R straight out of the market as soon as I took that off. As for my second partial, I was looking at this low, where I would probably take off another 50% depending on how the market was reacting. So those are my partials that I had in mind. So first 50% as soon as we filled that fair value gap, in case that the market actually wanted to push up higher and fill the fair value gap on the 15 minute that we had left up there. So in case my trade plan was actually wrong, that I would take some partials, have some money before I actually get stopped out. My second partial was near liquidity that we created in the London session. And then my third partial was near the London low, and the rest of the position, which was 12.5%, I would let run until we either reach our sell side liquidity or at a point where I just no longer felt like being in the trade and would take the position off, which I in the end did. So as you can see, we just got filled. Price literally tapped into that fair value gap and then started shooting down. And I will actually show you a bit of proof. So here we go. This is where I entered the trade. So as you can see, I really got filled right at the start of the fair value gap before price then started moving down. And I exited a partial, which was my 50% right here near this level that I marked. All right, so let's actually move on and see what price does. News was planning on coming out at 8:30, so at this point I had another 50% off of my position, and I only had 25% of the position remaining. And then as you can see, news hit, and I actually moved my stop to just above this order block right here, because what I noticed is that we really don't have that much imbalance left right here. We do have imbalance resting right here, which I was anticipating on news definitely filling up to sweep at least some liquidity if we were going to be heading down strongly. So let's actually mark that out. And to actually highlight the order block, we had, this is going to be the bearish order block. And at that point, news actually tapped me out of another bit of 50%. So I had 12.5% running for the rest of the day. As you can see, we actually tapped into that fair value gap and reacted off it quite strongly. We then returned to it, actually breached through it, tap into the order block, reject it, and test it once again. Price really wrestling there before then shooting down lower. As you can see, price then starts to make new lows. And at 10 a.m., I think somewhere right here, I actually closed my full position because I was kind of satisfied with the result that I got. So I closed my trade for around, 14R, around 14R. Of course, I took partial, so I didn't get 14% increase on my account. But what you, for example, could have done is close your position right here. And what would you be left with? You would be left with 18.7R. So let's call it 19R that you could have actually established with this single trade. That was it for the top-down analysis for this trade. So those were all my thoughts. That's how I managed everything. I wasn't too stressed about this trade, so I was really happy to let it run, mainly because I am currently doing a My Forex Fund challenge for fun, because I hit my profit targets for the week already. So there's no real point in me trading my live account. I don't do that, so I started a new funded account challenge, which is going great. If you're also looking to become a funded trader, I can highly recommend My Forex Funds. They don't restrict you trading on news, for example. The target in the first month is only 8% compared to most prop firms using 10%. And you have a 12% drawdown that you can have. So it's really amazing. I will drop a link in the description. If you use it, you will get a discount as soon as you check out. And as soon as it gets provided, I will also attach a coupon there for even more % off. So make sure to check that out. The link will be in the description for that. Right guys, that was it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you found some value. If you did, I would appreciate a like. A subscribe would also be amazing. And if you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to get back to you either in the Discord server, which is completely free, so feel free to join that, or here in the comment section. It's up to you what you prefer. Alright guys, thank you for watching. Bye-bye.